Aditya doesn't need any introduction, so he has been into the mobility tech center for a long time. So he worked around 18 plus years in Cognizant in the mobility field, and then climbed up the ladders all the way up to VP, and then he moved in as a chief segment officer for mobility at LTTS. So to you, Aditya, so how do you see what excites you every day being in this mobility?
That's a great question, Jayasree. Thank you so much for asking it and framing it in that way. Mobility to me is really a culmination of what I think destiny has been readying me for throughout my life cycle. It really felt like all of these expertise is required in this industry to transform, to support the transformation of the industry itself. That is once in a lifetime transformation that the industry is going on. Uh, Bringing together experience and expertise from the semiconductor all the way to the communication stack to the software stack is all what the automotive industry and the mobility industry transformation is all about. Being able to bring that perspective to solve some of the biggest challenges the industry is facing, I think that's been the most fascinating part of being associated with the mobility industry. And, I believe that mobility is fundamental to human development, has been the case since the early stage evolution of mankind. And going forward, mobility is really going to enable the transition of our societies across the world into the next era, whatever we call it, whether it's AI-defined era or software-defined mobility era. All of that will actually be intermediated and will be facilitated by mobility. And I'm happy to be part of this moment in time when the industry is going through such a change. And I think all of this journey looking like the perspective that of from chip to platforms that you are actually helping build comes at the right time, because Stellantis as an organization has been going through its own set of transformations across all the brands and across all the core SDV platform itself. When we think about the transformation of enabling the software mobility stack to come to life, the challenge is not so much about writing the software grounds up. I think it's really making sure that there is a continuity in terms of what the brand brings to the table already. There is it's not so much as a greenfield transformation as a brownfield transformation, as we would call it. A lot of what is being done is upgrading the vehicle and upgrading the business of making the vehicle, while the business needs to pay for the upgrade itself.
Yeah.
So maintaining that continuity, maintaining that entire ecosystem, carrying them along, continuing the cadence of vehicle releases, feature update, continuing as if nothing is changing there, while completely adopting and moving to a very, very different paradigm, a very different architecture of both vehicle design as well as the software design for the vehicles is an enormous transformation challenge that on the outside the magnitude of this is not visible, but that is really the challenge that most OEMs are facing today in terms of being able to navigate that shift across their internal teams, their suppliers, their entire ecosystem, and taking the customer expectations along with it. Because at the end of the day, the brand experience, which used to be so much more defined by, as you said, the hardware features, the hardware capabilities, whether it's the drive, the acceleration, or even just the cabin experience, all of these were mechanical, physical stuff that defined the experience, the totality of experience. And anything that was software driven was very minuscule in terms of even the in-cabin experience, not so distant past. All of that is now getting reprioritized, because it's the software experience, it's the cabin experience that's driven by software capabilities that is really going to create and is actually creating the next generation of brand experience that we need to keep in mind and we need to deliver. And this experience needs to keep evolving, because otherwise your brand becomes stale very soon after it is sold. So that whole journey, what you described, is a very, very, very fundamental journey. And in this whole architecture ecosystem that you're talking about, how do you actually draw the line between what should be done by an OEM and where should partners come into play? Because the role of the traditional tier ones and the further tiers is getting redefined. But also there are new players that are pure play software players that also are coming into play just to help bring the stack to life. So where do you draw the line between what do you need to do internally with your teams versus where you are better off actually bringing in a software stack partner or a software services partner into this ecosystem to help you with this journey?
So as you know, right, so there are two parts to it. One is like anything which comes with the brand. So it's something which is always that differentiate the brands, which will be always be done in-house, right? So we've got like 14 different brands that we cater to. So anything, the features that we put through for the brand will be done in-house. And also anything with respect to safety as well, those algorithms are not outsourced because uh, as safety and agile you want your vehicle to be, you also want the customers to be safer. So one small press release with the bad news will be like you have to recall all the vehicles through, right? Safety is very crucial for us.
So ownership of safety is the brand's responsibility and you are taking charge of that.
Yes, we own it.
Right.
Essentially, and also anything with respect to hardware and EE architecture that comes through, that's also IP which is locked in, and pieces like which are very crucial in terms of vehicle architecture, in terms of the powertrain and the things like that, right? So those are also going to be in-house. You asked a very important question, right? What can be outsourced, as you see, right? So today we've got like a lot of technical giants like with Android Auto and then CarPlay and things like that. They're able to build the whole stack of the projection for your car and all of the in-vehicle infotainment that comes through, right? We do have projection, though there is a caveat to it that you also need to think they're also trying to get the whole automotive space and through. They are able to build much faster than the real automotive space, right? So you also want to build in your own native ecosystem, which is as competitive as your technical giants, essentially.
It's the battle for the customer
It's a battle
experience
for
and the
the customer
customer
experience, what you
data and
face,
ownership as
right?
well.
Yeah, and also, as I said, right, data is something, yeah, you would take the help of the vehicle and then product analytics, but data has to be in, meaning to say it's the user data, which is sometimes also PII data that
Right.
with the customer's consent only it can be collected, but at the same time, that cannot be kind of breached, essentially. So there's a huge security and ownership to that data that would exist. So those kind of things would always be built internal, but it's a huge ecosystem, right? So if you take hardware, we partner with like Qualcomm and the other companies for the chip manufacturing and for the hardware pieces of it. And we do also have heavy OEM presence in multiple areas. So you can't build it all. It's a huge ship to cater. But what's been challenging is really how well really China has been able to make it, right? So they are able to ship within 12 and 18 months of the whole software that they're built through, which is really challenging the whole European and US market. So having known, right, so being especially you being at the front of the services, and what do you see in terms of reality, engineering reality of SDVs, basically, in terms of working with multiple OEMs? What are some of the vantage points? So is it the engineering talent or the pool that you bring in or the services that you offer to the companies? How are you differentiating yourself in strategically going forward?
Yeah, no, I think that's been a question for us as well in terms of, and the answer to that has been evolving as well as we have engaged with multiple clients. So part of our engagement on this has been to help them transition to the SDV world from a capacity and from a solution perspective, right? So you still have to run your current vehicle platforms and your vehicle delivery schedules while you're building up your new architecture. How do you scale your ability on both sides, being part of an integral part of your current teams that have all the knowledge and all the history of your platforms today? We help scale some of those teams to continue delivering on existing commitments. And on the other side, we also scale and partner with you to actually, work in developing and scaling up new capabilities as well, whether it is middleware capabilities, whether it is AI capabilities, whether it is validation, verification capabilities that the new platforms require in a different setup. We help first at the foundational level, help scale your teams to deal with the dual mandate that you have. That's number one. Number two is we are focused on making the cycle time of vehicle engineering shorter. That is a critical and must-have capability that all the OEMs, both European, Japanese, as well as in the North American ecosystem, everybody is struggling to shorten the vehicle engineering release cycle times from the current 30-35 months to down to 12 to 18 months.
Right.
That's that's the North Star now everybody needs to be working with, and everybody's trying to figure that out. The third area of focus is to really bring in the ecosystem to play and be the integrator and the facilitator of systems, subsystems, and solutions that the ecosystem brings. So we want to provide optionality to the OEMs and the tier ones. There are individual best-in-class components that are available in the market. So if you look at chips, you have options between NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Renesas, and all levels of chips that you can actually think of. You have options at the OS level. All types of OSs are available in the market. You have options for the software stack that runs at the application level, whether it's the infotainment layer, whether it is the ADAS layer. You have sensor options available in the market. Everybody wants to be the full stack provider, while the reality is that they are good at their pieces of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Our role is to bring for customers like Stellantis, our role is to bring all of it together and give you the optionality to select whichever ones that you want for whichever layer and make it all work together. So solving the integration part at all these different layers is really our core competency, and that's really our focus in making sure that we bring that to the table.
So what is the problem today really existing and pushing OEMs towards being the vehicle's brainstem and then bringing in really that compute safety and then data and security and partner for the cortex, or as you see, right? Everything today is AI powered, as you see. So the challenge of today is, right, how do you really balance that rapid innovation of AI and then the demands of the reliability, certification, and global trust that kind of require a multi-layered strategy, essentially, to really go across the processes, across the technology and governance, essentially, right? So you've got already like modular AI architecture and safety layer. What brings in terms of safety concerns over there is how do you really isolate this AI-powered perception or decision making from the core safety critical control logs, right? So that like if an AI component fails, you have to fail back to deterministic logic to ensure that the car is functioning safely and continued safe operation of the car happens. And also a whole of the intelligent redundancy that you see in there, right? So that you can really pair these AI modules with the traditional rule-based system or alternative sensors in order to enhance the resilience that comes in with the car. It comes in with another dimension, if I could add, right? So there is also like regulation that comes in through, and you having been worked in US and Europe and heavily with the regulation, how do you see regulation playing into this field in here?
So regulation is actually a very interesting topic that both the ecosystem players that have been traditionally there for ages have been grappling with, as well as the newcomers and new incumbents or new players that are coming into this whole ecosystem that are maybe pushing the boundaries of regulation. So and it's an interesting tussle to see across asking for permission versus going ahead and doing it until stopped. I think those are the two broad approaches that we're seeing, particularly in the US market, where a lot of boundary pushing has been done by some of the major OEMs, or at least one of the major OEM in this ecosystem, whether it comes to autonomous driving, whether it is whether it is things like the overall privacy, safety, security, and compliances, regulatory reporting activities. I think what we are seeing there is that in the interest of competing with China, there is a recognition that the old rules of maybe safety criticality paradigms don't need to be followed for every single aspect of the mobility business. While the functionality, the core vehicle functionality still requires the safety criticality, maybe the infotainment updates might not require the same level of precision, the same level of accuracy that was there in the traditional engineering world, and it is okay for that to be driven at a different pace than the rest of the overall ecosystem. So I think regulatory compliance in the US seems to be more on the side of, go ahead and do it, and the regulations will catch up to it. Versus in Europe, there is a lot more cautious approach about operating within the guardrails, and the regulatory authorities also have been a little more proactive in defining the boundaries before some things become mainstream. So I think we're seeing two distinct regulatory approaches in the market, and players actually adopting to it to actually drive the innovation agenda.
So, how do you see all of the iterative development with continuous assurance, right? How was the OEMs kind of helping with those things, that journey?
The iterative development is a reality, and I think the the OEM's charter in terms of being able to be ready to support the business model of iterative development, not just pre SOP but also post SOP. I think that is the area that requires a lot more, I would say, figuring out to do, because the business model of supporting iterative development through the vehicle life cycle rather than the engineering life cycle, I think that's a new paradigm that the industry has not yet figured out. The technology part of it is more or less there in terms of, everybody knows how to create a OTA ecosystem, but the business behind supporting an OTA ecosystem for 15 years for a particular vehicle that's already on the road,
Yeah.
that is where the reality will actually need to be figured out as to who pays for it and how much do you want to invest in being able to continue to update a 10-year-old car versus 15-year-old car, and what's the ROI in actually supporting the infrastructure needed to do that update. What impact does it have on the brand value? What impact does it have on the residual value of the car? And what does it drive in terms of brand loyalty and experience that you then can actually account for in terms of being able to then support what you need to actually manage the iterative development life cycle over a 15-20 year life cycle for a particular vehicle model year.
And coming to India more so, right? So shift on like components, you see that India role in this whole global SDV stack, right? Influencing heavily like the global market, SDV market you see, right? So we've got a huge engineering talent in here, which is untapped potential, I would call it. So more so it's shifting from the services mindset to really value-driven mindset of generating the value and engineering outputs nowadays. And you see also a huge shift of new startups coming in and things like that as well. So wherein which they are taking their ideas to all the way up to POC. And how do you see that taking to the next level from the pilots to really being able to scale to the larger stack, I would call it, right? And how do you see the remaining execution partners can really help this bridge this IP ownership and then also bring in the stack to the global market?
I think that's a very fascinating development that is happening, and today was evidence of that. Seeing so many startups and emerging players that are actually assembled here today. The big thing, the big shift that I see that is happening is that engineering services, engineering talent in India is moving from being the back office for the world to being the problem solvers for the local markets in equal force and equal measures. There are a lot of startups that are actually solving India-specific problems, whether it's in autonomous driving, whether it's the electric charging, whether it is even just the shared mobility space. There is a lot of innovation that's going on that is solving for India complexity. and India scale. For India complexity and solving for India scale necessarily positions us to solve very unique problems, which once solved is really the foundation of IP that we need. We will actually be able to then extrapolate and build upon and solve similar problems for the rest of the world as well. So being able to solve India problems and the focus for solving India problems is one of the most important developments that and the pivots that we have seen in the automotive and mobility ecosystem in India. That in addition to being the global back office and the global innovation center and the global ideation and co-creation center, the Indian ecosystem is pivoting to solve the India problem, and the IP creation that comes along with it, in addition to the IP creation that happens when with the global ideation and co-creation talent that is available here, particularly in the AI era, is going to be the pivot for foundation for us to actually become a global IP player, not just the global talent player from an effort perspective. So, and I think that's going to be critical, and that's going to be very fascinating to see how this creates a global impact at scale once we solve the India-specific mobility challenges as well.
Wonderful.
Great. So, I think it's been a great conversation, Sri, so far in this topic. Just closing on, when you think about your journey that you talked about to the mobility world, how do you see the future of mobility and the impact that Jayasree is going to create in the future of mobility, both in India and globally? What's your vision in terms of where you see this going?
Really bringing the next level of technology, right? So the innovation is key, I would call it, and AI is going to really sweep it. So might it be like a whole of bringing the voice assistant LVMs and with all the languages that exist locally. India has like huge market in here and also globally, right? So and really bringing the voice in cabin entertainment with audio and video that you have, or navigation. So that's already been such as solved problems, but there are still, like, when you add the AI into the mixture of it, right? So there are like a lot of problems you can really awe the customers with, right? So of course, we are also talking about the regular cars and things like that. We also have a lot of like trucks and uh, upfit vehicles, I would call it. So those huge challenges, like really building and catering these, might it be infotainment systems or autonomous driving, or really driving the revenue from the data that we collect from both vehicle signals and as well as the product analytics, as I call it, right? How user is being able to really interact with the car system, right? So, and really being able to monetize and drive revenues from that, right? So, and also building a very solid service oriented SDV, software defined vehicle stack itself is a huge challenge, and which is heavily AI powered, and like which can really go across the brand, is what I'm looking forward to.
Sure. Thank you.
So yeah, it was great talking to you, Aditya, and learning from your experience and how really a service-based company like LTTS can be really partnering in this journey of really taking our SDV further leap forward, I would call it.
Absolutely. Likewise, Jayasree, I think you are the protagonist driving the transformation for a firm as large as Stellantis. Your impact is global. We are honored and privileged to be discussing this topic with you, and working with you globally as well as we go forward to help you with that journey and help charter the next phase of mobility for the industry itself. So great talking to you, Jayasree. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you
time.
so much.